Let's talk about Papadopoulos, because this might be the most interesting thing. With the Manafort stuff, I feel like they basically had played it out and they rolled him up. And I don't know to what extent Manafort has any involvement beyond his own sort of financial improprieties. It's unclear. But the Papadopoulos stuff, and like Manafort, maybe this is just a way for, to get Manafort to give up something on Trump. The Trump lawyers don't seem to think that Manafort has anything. But there was also released was a guilty plea for false statements by this guy, George Papadopoulos. This was signed October 5th. It was unsealed, I guess, or made public today. And this is from Marcy Wheeler. The plea makes it clear that, one, the campaign had as an explicit goal making friends with Russia. Two, a month and a half before the June 9 Trump Tower meeting, Russian handlers had dangled stolen Hillary emails to Papadopoulos. Apparently, there was a ton of, like 20,000 emails were handed over by the Trump campaign. Papadopoulos tried to erase all of his emails. But the thing with emails is...
bit.
Yeah, here's the tricky thing with the emails. People got to keep in mind this. When you send an email, there's two copies. There's your sent one and the one that gets received.
Gonna need a lot of bleach bit.
How's it?
It's like that scene.
Brain bleach it all.
We got to Zoolander it.
Okay,
Slow
so
the computers down.
a month and a half before the June 9th Trump Tower meeting, Russian handlers had dangled the stolen emails. Papadopoulos has cooperated beyond what has been laid out in the guilty plea. He learned in early March that he'd be a policy advisor to the Trump campaign. Within weeks, a professor off a trip to Moscow started cultivating him and introduced him to a woman pretending to be Vladimir Putin's niece. Only the best people. Only the best people. Do you remember when Trump would brag?
Wait. It's fucking niece. They're not the fucking. Maybe they can help us give fucking Hillary plutonium shots, man. Let's get a meeting with her. Fucking A.
Do you remember when Trump was asked, like, do you have any foreign policy advisors? And he would just go like, well, yes. Brilliant guy, Carter Page. And another guy, Papadopoulos.
I have a low-level energy trader with an anxiety disorder and connections to Russian intelligence. I have a confused young man with acne who maybe has a graduate degree and is meeting with Putin's niece. So,
Okay.
yes, the best people.
Okay. So after meeting that handler, Papadopoulos attended a meeting with Trump and others where he explained, quote, he had connections that could help arrange a meeting between then-candidate Trump and President Putin. Papadopoulos was to keep the campaign on his loop to outreach to Russia. Okay, now, Marcy Wheeler then, she's tweeting out, a month and a half before the June 9 meeting. Okay, as a reminder, head of Trump's policy team was Jeff Sessions, who last week repeated under oath he knew nothing about collusion. But Jeff Sessions surely, in March 31st meeting at which George Papadopoulos talked about setting up a meeting with Putin. Empty Wheel says, remember how Sessions said he didn't recall discussing emails with Russians? I'm betting he starts recalling awfully quick. Later in this thread, someone else shows Papadopoulos an image from Instagram with the real Donald Trump, Sessions, and others from March 31st. So maybe there was two different meetings at that point, one in which Jeff Sessions wouldn't have attended because so Jeff Sessions is in some big trouble here. It seems
Wait,
to me.
we got a meeting with the Tsar's niece? She might have some information on that goddamn lesbian bitch Hillary Clinton. They might even have information that might help us purge black people
I was
off
gonna
the voter
say.
rolls. Those Russians are geniuses with technology.
What has this got to do with vote suppression? Well, whatever.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to meet with the man's niece, but at some point it's got to turn out with some Mexicans getting deported on the other end.
So,
Eyes on the prize.
So Papadopoulos, after learning Russians had emails on Clinton, even before Clinton learned it, so they knew this before this became public, before they were released. Papadopoulos continued to correspond with campaign officials. In response, the campaign decided to send someone low level so as not to send any signal. It turns out Papadopoulos lied about some of it the first time he spoke with FBI on January 27th. For example, he claimed he learned about the emails before he joined the campaign, trying to pretend that he didn't learn about them only because he had just been named top advisor.
It's fresh, just
This is
fresh information.
This is Marcy Wheeler's analysis. Papadopoulos must be a fucking idiot because a number of his communications with Russian handlers were on Skype, a PRISM provider. Though he tried to stop using his communications immediately after his second FBI interview, which is a bit too late. Her favorite part of the plea is this last paragraph. On July 27th, defendant Papadopoulos was arrested upon his arrival at Dulles International Airport. Following his arrest, defendant Papadopoulos met with the government on numerous occasions to provide information answering questions. I'm betting the FBI asked him about this detail from a March 31st meeting. Papadopoulos attended a national security meeting in D.C. when then-candidate Trump and other foreign policy advisors for the campaign. This is not in the plea who those people are. Jeff Sessions has got to be feeling a little bit uncomfortable today.
The Jews are going to get to me.
It's very hot here.
Jews are coming to me. See, I'm a member of a certain secret society.
In Washington, D.C., with then-candidate Trump and other foreign policy advisors, when defendant Papadopoulos introduced himself to the group, he stated in sum and substance that he had connections that could help arrange a meeting between then-candidate Trump and President Putin.
How awesome is that they're like, you can meet Putin's niece. We have information on Hillary Clinton's that will turn campaign upside down. Awesome! What's your Skype contact? Dude, what's the time zone difference?
And this is what Marcy speculates here. Because, I mean, look, everybody's probably read this, 100 times over. Everybody's now like an amateur U.S. attorney. But what they do with these cases is they try and get people to flip. And sometimes, one of the things that I've learned from my woodworking lessons that I've taken over the years is that the way you build a nice piece of furniture is to build good jigs. It's basically you're building other tools. And on some level, what we're looking at here is really just the combination of Papadopoulos and Manafort and the inclusion that the campaign knew about the emails even before it was public suggests that they're just building a lever for something else.
It was Hillary's fault.
Jeff Sessions could be in big trouble.
I don't like him anyways. He's too short. And
God knows what Jared and Ivanka, Jared has told them as well. And Bannon.
I'll testify against Jared. He took my girlfriend. I can only manage to get one hand job a week from my own daughter. I hate that guy.
Here's the thing. We don't know if they have interviewed Trump yet, right? Do we know?
In a certain
No. Do we know?
Don't know. No.
We don't know.
Idea.
And it could be very well that they haven't. But they certainly have interviewed everyone else. Jeff Sessions was, when did he go before Congress? When was that date that he lied about that?
I don't know. He's been before several.
No, the most recent time. I mean, I suspect that
So maybe around June 10th.
no. Just he was in like a month ago. Jeff Sessions are going to have some real problems.
I think. Oh, was it as recent as October 18th?
Yeah, it could very well
I'm
be.
not part of this facade.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something. Usually when you get questions like that from senators, somebody suggested they ask that question. So you could be looking at like this. And look, the chances of finding some type of specific collusion, although I think like trying to get stolen emails from a foreign government, could be considered collusion. But the point is that all of these people have lied about it. There's no doubt about it, right? There's no doubt about it that they have lied. There was nobody who came to the FBI and said, yeah, we actively sought to get these emails from them and they approached us.
Wait, you guys are saying there's more than one time zone in Russia? This fucking Skype call is going to be super hard to coordinate, but we definitely want the emails, man.
There's going to be a couple of people, I think, who are going to be facing, at the very least, false, ask Martha Stewart what happens when you lie to an FBI agent about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I should say, you don't get your own cable channel. That's not the way it works.
Like
no.
ghost parodies?
Not necessarily.
Because that would be disturbing.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos